Well, whilst the object has been here, we've had the object up and running, and a specialist has come along to the museum who has an understanding of ancient and 18th century instruments, and he has come to play the object for us.
To do because if they get complaints, so for 6 hours I had absolutely nothing to do, nothing to read or anything. So I complained about, I put in them, there's a thing called PALS, and you can go to them first and then they put in a complaint for you, see? So there's no, that sounds a good thing to complain about, just put all the details in a letter to them and then they put a form of complaint. Never mind, that kind of thing. They didn't sort of say, oh, well, we'll take it up or anything like that. So they just sort of laughed it off, you see. So I put that in. So that was a separate thing I complained about. Well, it's taken several months. Now I've got this letter signed by the chief executive of St George's, and it said, sorry that you have to complain about these things. And I said there ought to be some contingency plans for when somebody stays in. The person who's responsible for that, he said, she has said that her staff, she was disappointed in the way the staff dealt with it. They should have offered, he said they should have offered to go and get my bag, you see, because they just kept that to go to the wards. They should have offered to get me the bag. They should have offered me something to read, because it said there's always copies of the Metro in the staff. Yeah. And I also said I was a bit cold. After a while I began to feel quite cold, but nobody came by. I couldn't even ask anybody, can you get me another blanket or something? And again, so I mentioned that in the letter, and she said,
letters of thanks, letters from banks, letters of joy from the girl and the boy, receipted bills and invitations to inspect new stock or to visit relations, with applications for situations and timid lovers, declarations and gossip from all the nations.
But I mean, they shouldn't be training, they should, their own common sense ought to not just ignore you for 6 hours. That was it, it was as if...
That's what people have.
And then the people have got no initiative, you see. They ought to just use a bit of common sense and say, but all these people are lying here for 6 hours, they're going to need something to do. We ought to ask them, are you warm enough? And can we at least go and just tell them what's happening? But nobody, they didn't think of that, they just went about their business in the normal way. Because it's all down to the system that, well, that's what's wrong with the system. I felt like writing back now and saying, well, who chose a system that doesn't allow you to know who did what? I think I might follow that up and say, well, it's all right blaming the system, but somebody high up chose that system. Like going back on that one and saying, well, why can't you modify your system?